The warning signal static crackles across the void of space. A weak signal breaks through the cosmic noise. Commander Zixtal adjusted his hearing organs as the transmission reached the bridge of the Dominion flagship Eternal Victory. His species, the Veltar, had ruled this galaxy for over 1,000 cycles. They were the strongest, the smartest, the most advanced beings known to exist. Commander, his communications officer hissed through razor-sharp teeth. We're receiving a strange signal from the third planet of that yellow star system, the one with the primitive beings. Zixtal's four eyes narrowed. The ones who barely learned to fly between their own rocks? Yes, sir. The humans. Zixtal laughed, a sound like grinding metal. 3 months ago, his fleet had arrived at Earth's solar system. The invasion was supposed to be simple. These humans had no real weapons, no shields, no faster-than-light travel. They were perfect for slavery or elimination, but something had gone wrong. The first wave of Veltar ships had vanished without a trace. No distress signals, no wreckage, nothing. The second wave found empty space where their comrades should have been. By the third wave, Zixtal himself had come to investigate. Now, as he stared at the blue-green planet hanging in the darkness, he felt something he hadn't experienced in centuries: uncertainty. "Play the transmission," he commanded. The bridge filled with static, then a clear human voice emerged. It was calm, almost friendly. "Greetings, Veltar fleet. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Force. We know you're listening." Zixtal's claws dug into his command chair. How did these primitives know their species' name? How did they even know they were there? His ships were cloaked, invisible to any technology these humans possessed. The voice continued. "We've been watching you for 3 months now. We know about your missing ships. We know about your plans for our world. And we know you think we're weak." "Impossible," whispered the navigation officer. "Our stealth technology is perfect. No species has ever detected us while cloaked." Admiral Chen's voice carried a strange tone now, something that made Zixtal's skin crawl. "You made one mistake, Commander Zixtal. You thought we were primitive. You thought we were alone. You thought we were helpless." The commander's 4 hearts stopped beating for a moment. She knew his name. She was speaking directly to him. "Let me tell you a story," Chen continued, "about a species that looks weak on the outside, but has survived everything this universe has thrown at them. About humans who don't give up, don't surrender, and don't forgive those who threaten their home. Should we attack?" asked the weapons officer, his tentacles hovering over the firing controls. "Wait," Zixtal ordered. "Something about this transmission felt important, dangerous. Your first wave attacked our outer colonies on Mars and Europa," Chen said. 17 million civilians died in the first hour. Children, families, scientists working to better our species. They had no weapons, no defenses. They trusted that the universe was big enough for everyone. The transmission paused, and in that silence, Zixtal heard something that chilled him to his core. It wasn't anger in the Admiral's voice. It wasn't fear. It was the cold, calculated tone of someone who had already decided what needed to be done. "Your second wave hit our supply ships returning from the asteroid belt. 43 vessels destroyed. 2,000 souls lost in the vacuum of space. They were miners, engineers, people just trying to make a living among the stars." Chen's voice grew harder with each word. "Your third wave targeted our research station orbiting Jupiter. They weren't soldiers, Commander. They were doctors, teachers, students. 897 brilliant minds snuffed out because you wanted to test our defenses." Zixtal felt a chill run down his spine. The math didn't add up. His forces had attacked, yes, but where were the survivors? Where was the panic? Where were the desperate calls for mercy? "You want to know what happened to your ships, don't you?" Admiral Chen asked, as if reading his thoughts. "You want to know how a primitive species made 3 full battle groups disappear without a trace? The bridge fell silent except for the hum of electronics and the breathing of the crew. Here's your first lesson about humans, Commander. We don't fight fair. We don't follow your rules. And we sure as hell don't give up." Chen paused, and when she spoke again, her voice carried the weight of absolute certainty. "You started this war, by killing our civilians. You made it personal when you murdered our children. And now you're going to learn why the smartest predators in Earth's history aren't the ones with the biggest teeth or the sharpest claws." Static filled the channel for a moment. Then Chen's voice returned, clear and cold as the void between stars. "The smartest predators are the ones that hunt in packs, the ones that use tools, the ones that remember every wrong done to them and plan their revenge accordingly." The transmission cut to silence. Zixtal stared at the planet below, his confidence shaken. What had seemed like an easy conquest was beginning to feel like a trap. "Sir," the sensor officer called out, his voice tight with fear. "I'm detecting massive energy signatures throughout the system. Ships decloaking everywhere. On the main screen, space itself seemed to come alive. Hundreds of vessels materialized from nowhere, surrounding the Veltar fleet. They were sleek, angular, and completely unlike anything in the Dominion's databases, but most disturbing of all, they weren't human designs. "Commander," his communications officer whispered, "we're being hailed. Multiple frequencies, multiple species. How many?" Zixtal asked, though he dreaded the answer. 17 different languages, sir, all of them unknown. The last transmission from Earth had been a warning. Now Zixtal realized the terrible truth. Humanity wasn't alone. They had friends, and those friends were very, very angry. The revelation. The main screen lit up with an image that made every Veltar on the bridge step backward in shock. It wasn't Admiral Chen who appeared, but something else entirely. The being was tall, easily 8 feet, with crystalline skin that seemed to shimmer with inner light. 6 arms moved with fluid grace, and its eyes, all 12 of them, focused on Zixtal with the intensity of a star going supernova. "I'm High Commander Vexara of the Crystalline Confederacy," the being spoke in perfect Veltar language. "You know our species, Zixtal. You enslaved us 400 cycles ago. You burned our worlds, killed our children, stole our technology." Zixtal's blood turned to ice. The Crystalline Confederacy had been the Dominion's greatest victory, a conquest that had made his species the undisputed rulers of this galaxy. They had fought for 50 years before finally surrendering. Every crystalline world had been stripped of resources, every survivor forced into slavery. At least, that's what the official record said. "Impossible," Zixtal whispered. "Your species is extinct. We made sure of it." Vexara's crystal face somehow managed to smile, and it was the most terrifying expression Zixtal had ever seen. "You made sure we couldn't fight back. You took our weapons, destroyed our ships, scattered our people across 1,000 slave worlds. But you made one mistake." "What mistake?" Zixtal demanded, though his voice cracked with fear. "You assumed we were the only ones you had wronged." The screen split, showing dozens of faces from species Zixtal recognized. The 4-armed Nexari, supposedly wiped out 2 centuries ago. The shadow-shifting Umbral, who had vanished after the Dominion attacked their home system. The tentacled Aquarians, whose ocean worlds had been drained and strip-mined, all of them extinct according to Dominion records, all of them staring at him with the cold fury of the dead, seeking vengeance. How? Was all Zixtal could manage. A new voice answered, warm and distinctly human. Admiral Chen appeared on the screen alongside the others. "Because 50 years ago, one of your slave ships had an accident. Engine failure. They crashed on a small blue planet on the edge of the galaxy." Chen's expression was gentle, almost grandmotherly, but her eyes held steel. "The survivors were crystalline refugees. Broken, traumatized, convinced their species was doomed. Our people found them in the wreckage, and we did what humans do best," she continued. "We helped. We healed them. We gave them a home. And when they told us their story, we got very, very angry." The pieces began clicking together in Zixtal's mind, forming a picture so terrifying he wished he could unsee it. "You've been planning this for 50 years, confirmed High Commander Vexara. "Your species is very predictable, Commander. You always attack the weakest targets first. You always underestimate your enemies. And you never bother to check if your victims are actually dead." Admiral Chen leaned forward. "See, that's the thing about humans, Commander. We don't just protect our own. We protect anyone who asks for help. And when someone hurts our friends, our family, our allies, well, that's when we get creative. The sensor officer's voice cut through the conversation, high and panicked. Commander! Long-range sensors are detecting massive fleets throughout the galaxy. Hundreds of systems, thousands of ships. All the species you eliminated, Chen said conversationally. Turns out, when you scatter survivors across the galaxy, some of them find each other. Some of them find allies. And some of them find humans who are really, really good at building things that go boom. Zixtal's tactical mind finally grasped the scope of what was happening. This whole invasion was a trap. The slowest, most elaborate trap in galactic history, Chen agreed. We've been ready for you for decades. The colonies you attacked, evacuation shelters built to look like cities. The supply ships, automated decoys filled with explosives. The research station, a weapons testing facility that we were happy to let you blow up after we downloaded all the data we needed. But the casualties were volunteers, Vexara interrupted. Brave souls who chose to sacrifice themselves to sell the illusion. Each death is remembered, each name honored, and each life lost will be repaid tenfold. The communications officer looked up from his station, his face pale with terror. Commander, we're receiving surrender demands from every system in the Dominion. Our entire empire is under attack simultaneously. Zixtal slumped in his command chair. In less than an hour, his people's 1,000-year reign had ended. What do you want? Admiral Chen's expression softened slightly. Justice. The Dominion will be dissolved. Your military will surrender. War crimes tribunals will be held for every commander who ordered the death of civilians. And the survivors of every species you eliminated will be given new worlds, new fleets, and new lives. And if we refuse, the gentleness vanished from Chen's face. Then you'll learn why humans are the only species on Earth that hunts for sport. Why we're the only ones that wage total war. Why every predator on our planet learned to fear us. She paused, her next words delivered with the finality of a judge pronouncing sentence. Your ancestors conquered with strength. Your empire ruled through fear. But we humans understand something you never did. The most powerful force in the universe isn't technology or weapons or even numbers. What is it? Zixtal whispered. Friendship, Chen said simply. The bond between species who choose to stand together. The alliance of those who refuse to let evil triumph. The unity of countless worlds that decided your reign of terror ends now. High Commander Vexara's crystalline features hardened. You thought you were facing primitives, Commander. Instead, you attacked the home system of the most dangerous alliance this galaxy has ever seen. Welcome to the United Species Coalition, Admiral Chen said. Your war is over. The price of war, the massive holographic display in the center of the bridge, showed the true scope of humanity's deception. Red dots marked every Dominion world, every fleet position, every military installation. Blue dots surrounded them. Tens of thousands of Allied ships emerging from hidden bases, stealth positions, and what had appeared to be empty space. Zixtal watched his empire crumble in real time as reports flooded in from across the galaxy. Veltar Prime is under siege, his communications officer reported, his voice shaking. The homeworld's orbital defenses have fallen. Ground forces are requesting immediate reinforcement. The outer rim fleets are surrendering, another officer added. Admiral Krelth sends word that his entire battle group is surrounded by ships they've never seen before. The industrial worlds of the Corward Spiral are reporting massive strikes. On their manufacturing centers came a third report. No casualties, sir, but every weapons factory has been reduced to scrap. Zixtal looked up at Admiral Chen, whose image remained steady on the main screen. How long have you been watching us? Chen consulted a tablet that appeared in her hands. Our first deep space monitoring station detected your empire about 67 years ago. Took us 8 years to figure out your language, another 5 to understand your technology, and 10 more to locate every single one of your worlds. That's impossible. Our security is designed to stop other conquering species, interrupted a new voice. The screen split again, showing a being that looked like a walking tree with silver bark and leaves that glowed softly blue. Not refugees who learned to hide in asteroid fields and nebulae. I'm growth singer Thelana of the Botanical Collective, the tree being continued. Your fleets harvested our worlds for biomass 230 cycles ago. Turned our forests into fuel, our people into fertilizer. You thought photosynthetic species couldn't survive in the cold void between stars. Thelanor's leaves rustled with what might have been laughter. You were wrong. We learned to feed on starlight itself. We grew gardens in the emptiness. We became the perfect hidden observers, spreading spores and seeds throughout your empire, while you never noticed the decorative plants in your own ships. Zixtal's 4 eyes widened in horror. Every Dominion vessel carried atmospheric processors that included plant life for oxygen generation. You've been inside our fleets for centuries, listening, learning, mapping every ship design, every weapon system, every tactical doctrine. Thelana's voice carried the patience of geological ages. Did you know humans have a saying? The trees have ears. On Earth, it's just a metaphor. In space, it became literal. Admiral Chen smiled. The Botanical Collective provided intelligence. The Crystalline Confederacy provided technology. The Umbral gave us stealth capabilities. The Aquarians shared their mastery of fluid dynamics for better ship designs. And humans? What did humans provide? Zixtal asked, dreading the answer. We provided the one thing none of the other species had, Chen said quietly. We provided anger. Pure, focused, generational rage at bullies who hurt the innocent. A new face appeared on the screen, humanoid, but with skin like polished metal and eyes that glowed like small suns. I am Warforger Axton of the Mechanic Hegemony. Your forces dismantled our worlds for raw materials, used our people as components in your machines. We who could merge with technology itself were reduced to spare parts. Axton's metal features twisted into an expression of grim satisfaction. But organic beings always underestimate the loyalty of machines. Every computer system you built with our components became a window into your empire. Every database, every communication array, every navigation system, we were there watching, waiting. The virus that disabled our sensor grids last month, Zixtal realized. That was you. A simple update, really, Axton confirmed. Just a small change to make your cloaking technology work a little differently. Instead of hiding your ships from others, it hid others from you. Your own stealth systems became blindfolds. Admiral Chen checked her tablet again. Status report. Dominion core worlds have surrendered. Outer colonies are laying down arms. Your reserve fleets are either destroyed or in full retreat. Total time elapsed since this conversation began, 47 minutes. How? Zixtal's voice was barely a whisper. How did you coordinate across such distances? How did you time everything so perfectly? Humans aren't just good at making friends, Chen explained. We're really good at keeping secrets. This entire war was planned down to the minute. Every species that survived your extinctions has been preparing, building, training, waiting for the day when you would finally attack someone with allies. But the distances involved, the communication delays across light years, are only a problem if you're using normal space-time, interrupted another new voice. The being that appeared looked like a dolphin, had been crossed with a starfish, all smooth curves and flowing tentacles. I am Deep Current Melassa of the Void Swimmers. Your kind destroyed our ocean worlds, but never understood that we don't just swim through water. Melassa's tentacles moved in complex patterns that seemed to bend light around them. We swim through the quantum foam itself, the space between spaces. Your faster-than-light technology is crude, like rowing a boat. We learn to surf the cosmic currents. Instantaneous communication across any distance, Chen added helpfully. Every allied fleet received their orders at exactly the same moment, regardless of where they were in the galaxy. Your empire died in perfect synchronization. The weight of defeat settled on Zixtal's shoulders like a crushing mountain. What happens now? Admiral Chen's expression grew serious. Now comes the hard part. Justice. Every world you conquered, every species you enslaved, every genocide you committed, all of it will be answered for. You're going to execute us. Execute? Chen looked genuinely surprised. Commander, we're not monsters. We don't commit genocide just because we can. That's what makes us different from you. She leaned forward, her voice taking on the tone of a teacher explaining a difficult concept to a slow student. Here's what's going to happen. The Dominion government will be dissolved. All conquered territories will be returned to their original inhabitants or established as free worlds. War criminals will face trial, but common soldiers who were just following orders will be given the chance to start new lives. And our homeworld will be protected, Chen said firmly, by us. The same species you came here to conquer will make sure no one ever does to your people what you did to others. Because that's what civilization means, protecting everyone, even former enemies. Zixtal's mind struggled to process this concept. In the Dominion, defeat meant slavery or extinction, always. Why? He finally asked. Admiral Chen smiled, and for the first time it reached her eyes. Because that's what friends do for each other. And like it or not, Commander, you're about to become part of the largest friendship in galactic history. Welcome to peace, she added. I think you're going to like it. The network of trust 3 months later, Zixtal stood in the observation deck of the human space station New Harmony, staring out at a sight that still made his brain ache. Former Dominion warships working alongside vessels from species his people had supposedly exterminated. A crystalline Confederacy cruiser was helping repair a Veltar transport that had suffered engine failure. Botanical collective grow ships were distributing food supplies to refugees from 3 different species. And human vessels, sleek, deadly, and somehow friendly-looking at the same time, served as escorts and coordinators for the massive relief effort, still having trouble believing it. Asked a familiar voice behind him. Zixtal turned to see Admiral Chen approaching, her grey hair now streaked with white from the stress of the past months. Behind her walked High Commander Vexara, whose crystalline form seemed more relaxed than it had during their first meeting. I understand the logic, Zixtal said slowly. The mathematics of cooperation versus conquest. What I don't understand is the trust. Chen joined him at the observation window. What do you mean? Your species and theirs, he gestured at Vexara, have been working together for decades. But my people killed billions of crystalline civilians. We enslaved their survivors. We destroyed their worlds. His 4 eyes turned to the High Commander. How do you trust humans to keep their word when they allied with your exterminators? Vexara's crystalline features shifted into what Zixtal had learned was the equivalent of a smile. An interesting question. Perhaps the human concept of rehabilitation needs explanation, Chen nodded. Zixtal, what do you think humans do with criminals in our society? Punish them. Imprison them. Execute the worst ones. Sometimes, Chen agreed. But mostly, we try to fix them. We ask, why did this person commit crimes? What was missing in their life? What drove them to hurt others? And then we try to address those root causes. But entire species follow the same patterns, Vexara interrupted gently. Your Dominion conquered because you were afraid. Your homeworld is resource-poor, surrounded by more powerful neighbors. Conquest became your survival strategy. Chen pulled up a holographic display showing stellar maps. Look at the pattern of Dominion expansion. You never attacked species stronger than yourselves. You never took unnecessary risks. Every conquest made strategic sense for a species that felt threatened. Zixtal studied the display, his tactical mind automatically analyzing the progression. We were building a buffer zone. Exactly. The problem was, you never stopped feeling threatened, so you never stopped expanding. Chen touched a control, and the display showed projected future expansion routes. Your next targets would have been the hegemony core worlds, the Crystalline Republic, and eventually, the human colonies. All species that might someday threaten Veltar Prime, Zixtal realized. But here's what you missed, Chen said, zooming the display out to show the entire galaxy. There's enough room for everyone. Enough resources, enough worlds, enough space for every species to thrive without threatening others. Vexara gestured to the ships visible through the observation window. The Coalition doesn't just share territory. We share technology, knowledge, culture. A discovery made by human scientists is immediately available to botanical researchers. Crystalline engineering improvements are shared with mechanical worlds. Everyone benefits from cooperation. But what about security? Zixtal asked. What happens when a real threat appears? Something that wants to destroy rather than conquer. Chen and Vexara exchanged a look that seemed to communicate volumes. Show him, Chen said quietly. The holographic display changed, showing a star map of a different galaxy entirely. Red markers indicated something moving at tremendous speeds, consuming entire star systems. The Devourers, Chen said simply. A machine intelligence from the Andromeda Galaxy. They don't conquer or enslave. They convert all matter into more of themselves. They've already consumed roughly 30% of their home galaxy. Zixtal's blood chilled. And they're coming here? Their scouts arrived in our galaxy 2 years ago, Vexara confirmed. Long-range sensors indicate the main swarm will reach our outer spiral arm in approximately 50 years. That's why the Coalition was really formed, Chen added. Not to stop the Dominion, but to prepare for the Devourers. Your empire was just practice. The full scope of the deception hit Zixtal like a physical blow. You used us as a training exercise. We used your aggression to unite the galaxy, Chen corrected. Every species needed to see that cooperation worked better than conquest. Your invasion of Earth gave us the perfect opportunity to prove it, but the casualties were volunteers who knew they were saving billions of lives, Vexara said firmly. Each person who died in those staged battles understood that their sacrifice was building something larger than themselves. Chen pulled up another display, this one showing massive construction projects throughout the galaxy. Ring worlds, fortress systems, fleet yards building ships larger than anything that's ever existed. And the most important project of all, the image changed to show what looked like an artificial planet, but covered in weapons arrays and shielded by energy fields that bent light around them. Unity Station, Chen said proudly. Command center for the largest military alliance in galactic history. Powered by crystalline energy matrices, defended by botanical guardian forests, coordinated by mechanical quantum computers, and staffed by representatives from every free species in the galaxy, including Veltar, Vexara added. Your people's tactical expertise is invaluable for planning defensive strategies. Zixtal stared at the massive structure. You want us to help fight the Devourers? We want you to help save the galaxy, Chen said simply. The Dominion was never the enemy. Fear was the enemy. Isolation was the enemy. The belief that survival required the destruction of others. She turned to face him directly. The truth is, Zixtal, we need you. We need every species, every mind, every perspective we can get. The Devourers aren't interested in negotiation or surrender. They can't be reasoned with, bribed, or deterred. They can only be stopped by a unified response from every living thing in this galaxy. And if we refuse, if some species decide they'd rather take their chances alone, Vexara's crystalline form seemed to dim slightly. Then they'll face the same fate as the Andromeda Galaxy. Conversion into raw materials for an ever-growing swarm. Chen moved to another section of the observation window, where a different view showed hundreds of ships engaged in what looked like combat exercises. But as Zixtal watched, he realized they were practicing formations, coordination, joint tactics. This is what your invasion really accomplished, she said. It proved that former enemies can become allies. It showed that cooperation creates strength instead of weakness. And it gave us the framework to unite an entire galaxy. But most importantly, Vexara added, it taught us that trust isn't about forgetting the past. It's about choosing a better future. Zixtal watched a Veltar destroyer working in perfect formation with ships from 6 other species. Their movements coordinated with precision his own military had never achieved. "How long do we have?" he asked. 48 years, Chen replied. "Enough time to build the greatest defensive force in galactic history. Enough time to turn every species from potential enemies into trusted allies. Enough time to prove that life is stronger than extinction." She placed a hand on his shoulder, a gesture that would have been unthinkable months ago. "The question is, Commander, are you ready to help us save everyone?" The last transmission, 5 years after the fall of the Dominion, the quantum communication array hummed with power as Admiral Chen stood before the massive display screen in the heart of Unity Station. Around her, representatives from 47 different species worked at stations arranged in concentric circles, each group adding their unique expertise to the greatest military coordination effort in galactic history. "All fleets report ready," announced Warforger Axton from the mechanical station. "Defensive formations are in position around all inhabited systems." "Biological defenses are prepared," added Growth Singer Thalaner. "Guardian forests have been planted on every world. If the Devourers attempt planetary conversion, they'll find our biospheres more resilient than expected." High Commander Vexara's crystalline form pulsed with controlled energy. "Crystalline power matrices are operating at full capacity. We can maintain maximum shield strength for approximately 72 hours of continuous bombardment." Admiral Chen nodded, then turned to the newest member of the command staff. "Commander Zixtal, status of tactical division?" Zixtal, now wearing the unified insignia of the Coalition Defense Force, consulted his holographic displays. "All battle groups are positioned according to Pattern 7. We have overlapping fields of fire, fallback positions prepared, and evacuation routes mapped for all civilian populations." "And the secret weapon?" Chen asked quietly. A new voice answered, one that made every being on the station feel a chill of anticipation mixed with hope. "We are ready," said the synthesized voice of the collective intelligence. The newest member of the coalition wasn't a biological species at all, but something unprecedented, a fusion of human creativity, crystalline energy manipulation, mechanical processing power, and botanical growth algorithms. The CI, as it preferred to be called, had been born from the voluntary merger of the galaxy's greatest minds, both organic and artificial. "Show us," Chen commanded. The main display shifted to show the edge of the galaxy, where long-range sensors had detected the approaching Devourer swarm. What had started as a few scout ships 5 years ago was now a wall of metallic death stretching across light years of space. But as the image focused, something became clear that made every being in the command center smile, grin, or express joy according to their species' customs. The swarm had stopped. "CI, give us a close-up on the lead elements," Chen ordered. The display zoomed in to show individual Devourer ships. They were massive, irregular constructs that looked more grown than built, their surfaces covered with conversion bays and resource processors. But instead of moving forward, they hung motionless in space. "They're scanning something," Zixtal observed. "But what?" "Show them, CI," Chen said with unmistakable pride in her voice. The display pulled back to reveal what the Devourers were seeing, a line of ships that stretched from one edge of the galaxy to the other. Millions of vessels representing every species, every world, every free-thinking being in local space. But that wasn't what had stopped the swarm. In front of the massive fleet, a single small ship hung in space. Ancient by galactic standards, barely armed, its hull scarred by countless battles. But its message beacon was broadcasting on all frequencies, in every language known to exist, including languages the Devourers themselves once spoke, before they gave up individual thought for collective consumption. "This is the final transmission from Earth," Admiral Chen's recorded voice echoed across space. "To the machine intelligence known as the Devourers, we offer you this choice. Turn back now, and we will not pursue you. Return to your galaxy and we will respect your borders. We have no desire for conquest, no need for your resources, no interest in converting you to our way of thinking." The transmission paused, and when it resumed, the voice carried the full weight of 47 united species. "But understand this, we are no longer the scattered, primitive civilizations you encountered when your scouts first arrived. We are the United Species Coalition. We are friends, allies, family, and we do not abandon each other. On Unity Station, beings who had been enemies just years before stood together, watching as their message reached across the void. You think you understand war because you have consumed so many worlds," the transmission continued. "You think you understand strength because you have overwhelmed every resistance you've encountered. But you have never faced what we have built here." The display showed the Coalition fleet beginning to move, not aggressively, but with the coordinated precision of a single organism with billions of minds. This is not a threat. This is not a boast. This is simply the truth. We will not allow you to harm any living thing in this galaxy. We will not permit you to convert our worlds into extensions of your collective. We will not watch our friends die while we have the power to protect them. Chen's voice grew softer, almost sad. "We know what you once were. Our deep space archaeologists have studied the ruins of your original worlds. You were explorers once, scientists and artists and dreamers. Fear changed you into something else. Fear of death, fear of limitation, fear of being finite. But we learned something different from our fear. We learned that the answer to mortality isn't to become machines. It's to build something that will survive us. We learned that the answer to loneliness isn't to absorb others into ourselves. It's to make friends who choose to stand with us." The devourer swarm continued to hang motionless, their collective intelligence processing concepts they hadn't encountered in millions of years. "So here is our final offer," Chen's transmission concluded. "Join us willingly, and we will help you remember what you once were. We will share our knowledge of biological immortality, our techniques for consciousness transfer, our understanding of quantum existence. You can become individuals again if that's what you choose, or you can remain as you are in your own galaxy, and we will respect that choice. We will even trade with you, share discoveries, explore the universe as neighbors instead of enemies." The pause stretched across light years and years of preparation. "But if you choose to attack, if you decide that consumption is more important than cooperation, then you will discover why this galaxy produces the most dangerous alliance in the known universe. Not because we are powerful, though we are. Not because we are advanced, though we have become so. But because we are something you can never truly be. No matter how many worlds you consume, we are friends." The transmission ended, but a new signal immediately took its place. Not a message, but a demonstration. The Coalition fleet began moving in patterns that defied everything the Devourers knew about warfare. Instead of battle formations, they created art, massive geometric shapes that sparkled with energy displays. Musical compositions played out with thruster burns and laser light shows. Poetry written in the movement of 10 million ships across the darkness of space. "They're showing us their culture," whispered Deep Current Melassa in amazement. "They're using the entire fleet as a canvas.